Because I don't have the time, nor the patience to sit down and record gameplay for every single matchup like I usually do, you guys are going to be dealing with Canucks gameplay, but that's just the backdrop for the topic of this video. I didn't even realize that this was something that I had to do up until I was reminded that the NHL season ended today, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been making playoff predictions for the past few years. So I'm sorry about that, guys. I got a lot of homework to do. I got to work on my journalism interview podcast, and I have to do my seasonal anime rundown for spring of 2019. Also, apologies if you hear Sister Act 2 in the background. I could explain why that's going on, but I choose not to. This is my NHL bracket challenge for 2019. Right now, we're looking at a blank template of my brackets. We're going to be going over every single series, every single team, and what they have to offer. The first matchup, as we are looking from the top left corner, Calgary versus Colorado. Who's going to come out on this one? I say Calgary is going to win. Why? Because the Calgary Flames this season have been very, very good. Mark Giordano leads the entire league in plus-minus with a plus 39. Taking a look at the entire NHL and where the Calgary Flames sit upon the charts, you get yourself Johnny Gaudreau, who got 98 points. He was in a tie for 7th in the league in points. Gaudreau, obviously, fantastic player. Monahan, fantastic player. Point per game, 82 points. Of course, he was a point per game player if he didn't get 82. He only played 78 games, but he got 82 points. Then you get yourself Elias Lindholm, 78 points, Matthew Tkachuk, 77 points. The scoring does not stop. And I know that Colorado has that stacked line, but in the playoffs, it's unforgiving, man. I don't think you can go into the playoffs and expect their one line to carry them to greatness like they kind of did throughout the regular season. Taking a look at the Colorado Avalanche and what they were able to accomplish this season, obviously you have the best line, potentially the best line in the league. Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog. McKinnon obviously 1 point off of 100, so he bested out Gaudreau in that sense. Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, all each with fantastic numbers too, and neither of them played 82 games, which was really, really interesting. Tyson Barrie also got a lot of points too, but then that's kind of where it drops off. Soderberg got 49 points, Kerfoot got 42, and then JT Compher got 32. So going down the list, it's easy to see that Calgary's depth has been better this season. Also, you got to take a look at Mark Giordano. He's a guy who I really would love to see hoist the cup, even though he's on the Flames, because Giordano has just been so strong this season. And Gaudreau, Monahan, Lindholm, Tkachuk, obviously they're the leaders of that team. And Mikhail Backlund, 47 points. Derek Ryan, 38 points. Who expected that from him? I just like the depth on Calgary more, and there's a reason why Calgary was able to finish so highly in the standings as they did. I mean, they were first in the West. Of course they're going to be great. 107 points, 50 wins in this season. The only team in the West to get 50 wins, and only the second team in the league. So that's why I have them over Colorado. I'll take them in 6 games. Going over to San Jose versus Vegas, these are two teams who have really been matched up, and people who have been really saying that they've been pitted to match up against each other basically since the season began. San Jose finished things up with 101 points in 82 games, 46 wins. Vegas, 93 points and 43 wins. So the edge goes over to San Jose in terms of home ice advantage. That's what they got over there. Going over to each team's leading scorers and what they were able to accomplish this season. The San Jose Sharks got some really good performances from the guys that you'd probably expect. Brent Burns led the team with 83 points. Hurdle got 74 points. Great for him. Couture got 70, Meyer 66, Pavelski 64, and they got themselves some pretty good scoring, for sure. It's just that the one guy that you probably expected a little bit more from, Erik Karlsson, only got 45 points in the 53 games that he played. Now don't get me wrong, that's really good for points per game, but I think people were expecting a little bit more than 3 goals out of Erik Karlsson once he stepped into San Jose. With that being said, though, the Vegas Golden Knights didn't have the star power in terms of their scoring that they did last season. Last season, they had a whole bunch of guys getting 70 points and whatnot. This season, Marchessault caps things off at 59. Karlsson, who got 40 points last year, ends things off with 56 points this year. Riley Smith got 50, Tuck got 50, Paul Stastny, who only played 50 games this season, he got himself a pretty good 42 points. Then Cody Eakin, 41, Max Pacioretty, 40. So you got yourself a really closely knit group of players who are getting points. The points are equally distributed amongst the team, and they've been pretty good so far. In terms of who I think is going to win, If I had to label it, I'd say that Vegas and their teamwork would definitely have the opportunity to overshadow the San Jose Sharks and take things over. I wouldn't be surprised, especially since they made the finals last year, if guys like Fleury came back and totally stole the show here. In terms of what I think, though, I think this is going to be a really close series. I think it goes to 7, but ultimately, I think San Jose might be a little bit more hungry this year than Vegas, despite Vegas making the finals last year. Now, I know it's kind of weird to say that, but hey, I'm going to go for an upset here. Let's go San Jose in 7. I'm very sorry, Louis. I hope it doesn't happen, but just for the sake of making upsets here, I think San Jose is going to take this one. Going over to our next matchup, Nashville versus Dallas. The Predators end things off with the first spot in the Central Division. They got themselves a pretty good record this year too, and the race really did come down to the last few games, right down to the wire. Nashville finishes off with 100 points in 82 games, 47 wins, tied with Winnipeg. Winnipeg finished 1 point below, as Nashville had an overtime loss, where Winnipeg had one less. With that, the Predators get up the second wildcard spot in the Dallas Stars, who have had some really good showcases of goaltending throughout this season. 202 goals against, that's the lowest out of any Western team in the playoffs, and the second lowest amongst all teams in the playoffs, just second to the New York Islanders, who had 196 goals against. The Dallas Stars have had really good goaltending and defense throughout this year, which is why they were able to squeak into the playoffs with a pretty good 3-point lead over the second wildcard. With that being said, though, I think Nashville and their strong style on the puck and their strong, heavy play is going to be able to outclass Dallas and what they've had to offer this season in this year's playoffs. I'm predicting a solid 6-game defeat for the Dallas Stars at the hands of the Nashville Predators, and don't get me wrong, it's not like Dallas is going to go down without a fight. Ben Bishop and Khudobin, both guys that I've been really confident in this season, and the Dallas Stars have some pretty solid pieces. Seguin got 80 points, Radulov got 72, Jamie Benn got 53, Klingberg got 45, and Heiskanen, the rookie, got 33, so it's not like all things are bad for Dallas. But I just think that Nashville's going to go out there, and they're going to have more to prove in this year's playoffs, and despite not having that much points out of their top scoring guys as Dallas does, I think Nashville's going to be able to take them on and kill them out in 6. It's a weird prediction, I know, but hey man, predictions are always weird. Going over to our final Western matchup, I have the Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. This is the Central 2 versus 3 position here. I'm going to have Winnipeg beating out St. Louis, and just taking a look at who Winnipeg has and what they've accomplished this season, I know they've been tied with the Blues to end things off, but I just love Winnipeg in the playoffs, man. They're so clutch, and I think that if there's any team that's going to bounce back from what they were able to accomplish last season in the playoffs, it's going to be Winnipeg. And I say bounce back like that's a bad thing. They made the conference finals. Winnipeg is a team that's got so much firepower up front, and they have so many guys who are capable of doing things. The big thing here is going to be on both teams, Patrick Laine and Jordan Binnington. If Binnington plays like Binnington that we've seen throughout this entire season, I definitely see St. Louis giving a really hard fight to the Jets. But if a guy like Patrick Laine is able to step up and start scoring again like he's used to, then I think Winnipeg takes this one no problem. In my opinion, Patrick Laine's got to wake up, and he's probably going to wake up once the playoff starts. That's just my hot take of the season. There's no evidence to support that. It's just a prediction for the sake of being a prediction. My opinion, 7 games, Winnipeg takes this one over St. Louis. Going over to the Eastern Conference, we have ourselves the best team in the league, the Tampa Bay Lightning, against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who really threw away their whole future just to make it this far. And I think it's all for naught. Who gets to get knocked out by Tampa in the first round? It's the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's no argument here. Tampa is the best team we've seen in years. They have so many great players. They have a 120-point score, which is incredible. And Columbus, they barely squeaked in, which is not a good sign. They weren't supposed to barely squeak in. They were supposed to make it definitively in a normal division spot, because they got Duchesne, they got Dzingel, they got McQuaid, they got all these guys, and the guys that they already had on the team like Bobrovsky and Panarin, just to make it out of the first round. But I think Tampa's got him in 5. Yeah. Sorry if you can hear Sister Act in the background. Going over to our next matchup, Boston-Toronto. Oh man, I hate this. The Maple Leafs are my second favorite team, and I just don't really know what to think about this. My heart says that I really want the Maple Leafs to take this one. I really do. I'm a Leafs fan. I love the Leafs. And if it were up to me, they'd win the cup this year. But my heart also says that Boston's probably got their number. Oh, man. Boston, I'll take you guys in 7. It's gotta happen like that, right? I mean, I really don't want it to. I want the Leafs to beat them, but I don't think they can. I know I have to have hope and I have to believe, but just the way the season ended out and everything surrounding the drama, Garrett Sparks, goaltending and all that, the goals the Leafs have been scoring in their games and the players who have kind of faded away, I just don't know if that's enough to overcome Boston, who recently got Pasternak back, who had scored like 6 goals in like a span of 9-ish games or whatever, ever since he returned. Something weird like that. I know I'm probably so off, but like, Boston, I'll take you in 7. Let's go over to our Metro matchups. Washington versus Carolina. Carolina barely squeaked in one of the best stories that we've seen all year. The bunch of jerks are in the playoffs. And Brind'Amour, the man behind it all, he's got himself a great team to work with. Against a Washington Capitals team that Ovi led to a Stanley Cup last year. So who do I got this year? It's going to be tough because I think the Canes are going to have a really good fight in their system, especially being in the playoffs for the first time in like 10 years. But I think it's not their time yet. And I think that the Capitals are just riding off of so much momentum from last year, as well as Ovi getting 50 again this year, that I think the Capitals take this one in 6, ultimately. I don't like it because I like the bunch of jerks, but I'd be lying if I said that I was confident in them to take on Washington and to defeat Washington in the first round. Going over to our second and third seeded Metro teams, the Islanders versus the Penguins. Man, this is crazy. If it were up to me, I'd choose the Islanders because I think the Islanders have a great story and they're actually like just so interestingly good right now, especially with Barry Trotz coming in, taking over that team, the best defensive team in the league, first in goals against, 196 in the league. Incredible. And they still got so many guys who were scoring so many goals and everything this season, all led by Matt Barzal. Of course, 62 points this year, really not as good as last year, but the Islanders are the definition of a team. And if it were up to me, I think that's the best thing you need if you want to defeat a team like Pittsburgh, which just seems to light it up every time they step into the playoffs. They lost last year to the Washington Capitals, who eventually went on to win it. So interestingly enough, I say that they're going to lose this one too. Like, I know that the Penguins are really good and they got their same guys who are really strong, but for the sake of making predictions, let's go with the New York Islanders in upset time. 5 games. Let's do it. Going into our second round matchups, the Calgary Flames versus the San Jose Sharks, the battle of the 2 best defenders in the league, arguably speaking, Brent Burns, Mark Giordano. This one is a Pacific Division matchup that a lot of fans have been dying to see, because obviously it's the Calgary Flames, it's the San Jose Sharks, 2 really good teams, and going into this season, people would have probably expected San Jose to win it, but the thing is, the Calgary Flames have been so good this year that I think if there's any team that's going to dethrone the eagerly hungry San Jose Sharks, it's going to be them. Calgary is going to take this one in 7 in my opinion, and move on to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, they've just been that good. Going over to Nashville versus Winnipeg, this is something that we've seen before, ain't it? It honestly couldn't have been any other way. Nashville versus Winnipeg in the second round of the NHL playoffs. In my opinion, I don't really know. I really don't. It's all going to depend on that depth and that scoring of Patrick Laine, as we've talked about before. That's what I ultimately said will lead them past the St. Louis Blues, and if that's able to continue, then I think they're definitely going to beat the Nashville Predators too. But the thing is, the Predators are just so different in the playoffs, and we know we saw this last year with Winnipeg beating them out. I don't know if there's necessarily that same star power or that willpower within both teams, but for the sake of predictions, let's go with Winnipeg in 7 because, hey man, they did it once, and they're older, they've got themselves a little bit more experience, and they're probably equally as hungry to do it again. Nashville, I know you guys made the finals 2 years ago, and I know you guys were eagerly anticipating another chance to get at Winnipeg, but the Jets have been improving too. There's a dog outside. I don't know if you can hear that. I probably should edit that out, but I won't. I have a journalism podcast to do later today, so I'm rushing through this video. Going over to our Eastern matchup over here. Tampa versus Boston. Hey, Tampa's been pretty good. Let's go with Tampa. I don't care if Boston has the best line in the league. I don't care if they've been scoring many goals. Tampa is Tampa, and you can't stop that. At least for now. Tampa's going to take this one in, let's just say 6. Boston's got good fight in them. I think they got something for sure in being able to fight back and being able to make a strong case for themselves in this series. They did it against Toronto, well, at least I believe they will, but against Tampa, who is a completely different animal and more complex than Toronto, I'd say Tampa wins. They make the conference finals easy because it's Tampa. Then going over to our last conference semifinals matchup, Washington versus the Islanders. This one's going to be kind of weird, because from this point of view, where I have the Islanders beating Pittsburgh, it's easy to conclude that, hey, the Islanders beat Pittsburgh, why couldn't they beat Washington? And that's a super fair argument to make, but I just think that Ovechkin being so hungry in the way that he is going to allow them to pull past the Islanders in about 6 games. I honestly think that. Washington is just so different in the playoffs that we've seen in the past year, and I like it. I like it a lot. They've been eliminated a lot early in the past, but I don't know if a cup is enough to break that streak, but I certainly believe it will, which is why I have them in the conference finals here. Going over to our first conference finals matchup, it's an all-Canadian matchup, so we're guaranteed a Canada team in the finals. Calgary or Winnipeg, one or the other. In my opinion, Calgary takes the cake here. Calgary is a team that's been so strong, they're the best in the West for a reason, and Winnipeg is still in that kind of limbo in my opinion. I did bring it up a few times that them getting past their first and second rounds is gonna depend on that depth, but to me, I think getting shut down by a good goaltender in Fleury last year, which is what happened, was the ultimate downfall, and once they couldn't get those goals, they kind of fell apart afterwards. I think that Rittich and Smith are a good enough tandem that I could confidently say that, yeah, Calgary probably has their number, and something like that, with a Fleury, it could totally happen again. Which is why I have Calgary making the finals in 7 games here. It's going to be a close one. For the sake of predictions, let's have Calgary in the finals right here, and we will go forward with the East. Tampa versus Washington. Tampa's going to win this one. I think Tampa's going to take it in 7. Washington's been a great team in the playoffs the past year, and we know that. I believe that they will carry that success here, but I think Tampa is just so good that there's no way they don't make the finals. Right? So now we have ourselves a weird matchup. It's Calgary versus Tampa in the Stanley Cup Finals, and oh boy, it's weird. It's really weird. Really, really weird. Tampa lost so little games this season, and they've just been so dominant that going into the playoffs, I was thinking, yeah, there's no way. If they lose the cup, the league is rigged. And I want Calgary to certainly be a successful team, and they could totally do that this year and win. But against Tampa, I don't think any team stops Tampa. And I know the President's Trophy curse, it exists, it's real, we all know that. The best team in the league doesn't always win the cup, for sure. But it won't happen with Tampa, right? It's their time. They have to do this now. They have to. Which is why I take it Tampa Bay in 6 games. How many goals do I think is going to be scored in the final? Let's guess like 34. I don't know. 34. Yeah, sure. That's a good number. Hit him with the 4 like Austin Matthews. So that concludes my playoff predictions. I'm very, very sorry that this sucked compared to the other ones. I've been doing these playoff predictions videos for years that I didn't even realize that this was the time to make one again. Oh man, everything's coming so quickly. Even the draft lottery is coming up, but like, this one I couldn't really go in depth as much as I would like to. My voice is really fried. I've been recording podcasts for school. I'm not done recording podcasts for school. And I didn't realize that I needed to make this video, so now it's 11:50 p.m., and I just recorded 19 minutes of unfiltered, unscripted audio just to be used later for a predictions video. Oh my goodness. These are my predictions. I got the numbers and everything. If for some reason I get every single prediction right, which is not going to happen because it never happens, and it's never even been remotely close to happening, give me money, I guess. Like, I probably should submit this bracket challenge online, right? I mean, I already have it. So, why not? But yeah, Tampa wins the cup over Calgary, and I know that feels really weird to say, but that's my predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this video plus on the Show/9 Gaming. I need to go back to getting my podcast done. I need to write up a whole marketing plan for a Soviet Union thing. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and bye.